Thank you for tuning in to the Men Don't Cry podcast. If you are affected by any issues we discuss in this episode, please feel free to turn off and tune into the next one. Myself and Charlie aren't trained professionals, so if you are suffering from mental health issues, please speak to your GP or a professional to seek advice or medical help. Now, without further ado, please enjoy the episode.
Hello, and welcome to the episode 3 of the Men Don't Cry podcast. So exciting that we've got to episode 3.
I didn't think we'd be here.
No, it's great. Yeah, we're having great fun with it.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening and watching and sharing and liking, commenting.
Yeah.
The response so far has been amazing.
Phenomenal, yeah. It's been so good. Like, we couldn't have even imagined how much we would get a response out of you guys. So big thank you to everybody at home.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Yeah.
Well, today's episode is about self-care.
Self-care,
yeah. It's an interesting concept.
It is, yeah. It's not. So when we were deciding the episodes, this wasn't one that we had planned to do at all.
No.
But
it sprung to mind, though.
Yeah, we've sort of, through conversations and that sort of thing, we've decided that this would be something really worth talking about.
Yeah.
Because self-care as a guy is something that sometimes doesn't always come as your priority. And self-care as a topic is so broad. Like, it's not just like, we're not going to be talking about just doing a face routine or brushing your hair, but that comes into it. But there's so many aspects of self-care that we want to sort of dive into. So without further ado.
Well, I think I need to start off by being honest with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling too good today. And the reason I'm not feeling too good today is because I've got a massive hangover.
Yeah, you...
I messed up a little bit last night. I went out for a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
A couple of drinks
I
turned
left
into a
you
lot
after
of
one
drinks.
pint and you were absolutely fine.
I was fine. And then, so I'm not feeling great today.
No, so it's good to do a self-care episode. Maybe give you a bit of a lesson.
It's very ironic, isn't it? But this is going to teach me a lesson today talking about self-care. Well, when we sort of said that we were going to do an episode on self-care, the thing that sprung to mind for me first, from a personal point of view, is I have a severe issue with self-care.
Mm-hmm.
I think I self-care when people tell me that I need to self-care, but I'm not very good at looking after myself. Whereas I feel like you sort of force yourself to look after yourself a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, I think I've had to learn to. So with washing my face and that sort of thing, I was really bad at it, but then I had really bad acne quite severely when only a year and a bit ago.
Yeah.
To the point where I was I had to go on antibiotics and all that sort of thing, and so it sort of put me into a position where I was like, I need to sort myself out because what's going on?
Yeah.
And it was affecting my confidence and all that sort of thing. So it sort of made me take a bit more care about myself. And also, I think as I've got older, you want to look nice. I used to be that sort of kid who just run around in just long socks and weird trainers
I think every lad's like that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And my sister would be like, Louis, why are you wearing it? And I look back on photos of me, we're going on a beach day, and I'm wearing running Astros and long. I'm like, what am I doing? So yeah, it's something I've just sort of had to force myself to. So you're right. I think it is. I think most guys go through a stage where they go, right, I'm going to sort myself out now. Yeah. Not less scruffy. Care about how you look and how you smell and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think you get to a certain age and you think, I actually want to take pride in where I live.
I think it is pride.
Yeah.
And I think when you get to a stage where you might be getting into a relationship or you have other people in your life that you want to make sure that you're okay because you have other responsibilities. Whereas when you're a teenager, 16, you don't really have anyone else to sort of look really presentable for. You can get away with it. I think as you get older, it becomes a bigger part of your life. So that's what I've found anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I think relationships is a good thing to think about or talk about when we're talking about self-care, because I think being in a relationship has helped me care a lot more about myself.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, she's very supportive, and she nags me sometimes to take care of myself. And I think once you realise that someone cares about you more than you care about yourself, it's quite scary.
Yeah.
because me and my girlfriend broke up for a short period of time about 2 years ago, and when we did break up, I went from having someone tell me I was amazing every day and like all this sort of stuff to someone someone not telling me that every day, and I had to sort of navigate that myself and sort of try and tell myself all of these things that she would normally tell me, and that's so hard to do. You know what I mean? So hard to do.
I agree. I think it's almost like you said last episode about your dad with your younger brother, like that gave him a reason to sort of keep going. And I think self-care is maybe not as like big as that, but so having someone else that you need to make sure you're okay for, so that you can look after them, and you care so much about them that they mean more to you than you. That's so powerful to have, and so I think that sort of forces self-care slightly, and I think that's really important. But moving on slightly, so I told my mum that I was doing this podcast and we were doing self-care, and my mum's a very, very caring, probably the most caring person I've ever met, and so she sent me through some things to think about, so I thought we should do you want to run through them quickly?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this is from my mum.
It's a new segment, Louis' mum's advice.
Louis' mum's advice.
Lovely.
All the way from sunny Rochester, Kent.
Lovely.
So she said, self-care, ... positive, regular daily habits, which is the 5-step challenge. We sort of discussed that.
Yeah.
Simple things make all the difference. Start your day off with a positive outlook if you can. Another day, another chance, which I think is a really nice and a nice thing to sort of almost say to yourself.
Yeah.
My mum's a very positive person when it comes to sort of when you're feeling slightly nervous. She's really good at making me sort of snap out of it. And this week, for context, I had my driving test, and I am.
And you.
2 minors, baby, passed it. Of course I did. Thank you.
Can we get congratulations in the comments as well from my mate Louis?
Thank you very much. On the roads now.
Watch out.
Yeah. So I was like bricking it. I'm not really a very nervous person.
Yeah.
But for this, I was all over the place, and she just kept like telling me. She said, "Look, Louis, say to yourself, I'm good enough. I can do this. I can drive. I know I can." And for me, even though I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, Mum, like whatever," I brush it off. It did help. Yeah. And she told me to manifest, like visualize myself passing, and like visualize myself on the test, and it really genuinely helped, because it made me sort of think, right, well, it's like I've already done it before I'm even doing it.
Yeah.
So when I got to the test, I felt really calm, and I wasn't expecting that. So I was really thankful for that, and that piece of advice I think everyone should take, like visualizing and like making sure that you treat every day as a new chance to be better.
Yeah. And if you fuck up on one day, don't necessarily have to carry it over to the next day. Sort of have a fresh slate.
Yeah. Sifting through a lot of notes, she sent me a long text. She said one that really sort of I think is really valuable for self-care, which doesn't seem like it's actually to do with you, but keep away from negative people. You know who they are and how they make you feel. Be as positive as you can, as it will keep your brain calm. And I think that's so valuable.
Yeah.
Negative people is an interesting sort of situation, because I feel like there's situations where they're being negative and they are a generally negative person, but that does have its own sort of place.
I think I'm quite a negative person.
I think I'm rather pessimistic. I'm on the pessimistic side.
Yeah.
But generally, I think positive people really do help you.
Yeah.
Because if someone's telling you it's going to be fine, you can sort of go, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And you start to believe it.
Yeah.
I think the more you sort of surround yourself with people in like a little bubble of negativity, you'll never get further in life. Like you'll just sort of be like, well, it's done anyway. It's rubbish anyway, so I might as well just sort of not do it.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting one.
Well, sorry, just quickly before you go on.
Yeah.
Talking to negative people, I said to you I was going to have a little word on this, and I'll keep it brief.
Yeah. Let's do that.
But can I just say a big fuck you to people that use mental health and mental health awareness for monetary purposes, because we played a team, and I won't mention their name.
We play football.
I run a Sunday league team. Louis is one of the players in the team. We turned up, and we're playing a team who are all about mental health awareness and all of that stuff, and making sure that their club is for the people and all this sort of stuff, right? But unfortunately, when we played them, there was abuse from the sidelines, shouting, screaming. They came into our dressing room before the game to get inside our heads. They were abusing us before the game, taking the mick out of us. And one thing you got to understand is, unfortunately, in Sunday League, that's part of it.
Yep.
But if you're a team that's promoting yourself as a mental health awareness team,
Yeah.
don't start bullying
a
bunch of young lads.
I came back on, so I went off injured, and I came back on, and in the 85th minute, our wing back, who played so well, scored a stupid own goal.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really his fault, and I think we were quite far down anyway. So they were
a much better team than us.
But their manager, who's meant to be the guy who's sort of leading the line of positive mental attitude and all that sort of thing, and being kind to others, was thanking him and being really arrogant. And I just sort of went up to him. I went, "Mate, you're a mental health team. What are you doing?" He went, "What do you mean, mate? He scored an own goal." And I was like, "But you're going against everything you stand for by abusing this kid. The guy who scored it isn't that old. He's still a young guy.
Yeah.
And that could really get to him. And he could go home and think about that. And luckily, the person who scored the own goal took it really well. Was like, look, well, it's happened. I can brush it off. But that sort of outlook wasn't. I really didn't like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's whilst we're talking about negative people, I think that's good. Yeah. Good to mention.
So just a big, massive fuck you to that team. We're not going to mention their name. We're not going to give them traction. But I hate it, and it needs to stop. So I hope they listen to this and think about it.
So moving on from that, my mother has said a lot of things, and one that really resonated with me was turn your music up and have a playlist that you love.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm really, really into my music, and it definitely helps me. I will sit there and just listen to my favourite artists, and even if it's my mum actually tells me off sometimes. She says, "You just listen to sad music," but I get a lot out of sad music, things that maybe aren't as upbeat and happy. I remember once, this was when COVID was really big, and I was going home, so I was self-isolating to go home, and everyone else were together, all our friends in another room, and I just sort of sat down in the shower and listened to songs, and I was just I was in my sort of feelings, but it actually really helped me. So I use music a lot.
I think there's a fine line though, because I've been in situations where I've been down and then I go home, listen to sad music, and it makes me feel worse.
Yeah, it can.
And you almost get addicted to that feeling of feeling sad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I'm just lucky that for me, music brings me out of a slump.
Even if it's sad music.
Yeah, I think so. I think I just have the enjoyment of listening to a medium that I really like.
Yeah.
And for me, it works a treat. So I think that is a good bit of advice. Listening to music is so valuable to the brain, because it releases serotonin.
Especially listening to music with other people as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that people don't really do.
Yeah, and then you get to recommend things, and you get to be like, oh, have you listened to this? We do it in our house all the time, and I think it's really useful. From Mum, I think last one, which I think is a really good piece of advice. Smile and give each day a go. If not, try again the next day. Positive, regular self-care habits make all the difference. Be the person you'd like to be around.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
I feel like if you can reflect someone that you would like to spend time with, then that's really important for not only other people's mental health, but your own.
Yeah.
Don't try and be someone you're not, because people will love you for who you are. But maybe if you have a thought that you probably shouldn't say to someone, just keep it to yourself, or try and regulate how much of your you can let go to people.
Yeah.
Because I think making sure everyone is you're nice to be around, can make then you feel better about yourself, because if you know that people find you irritating, I think you're going to get into a pit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think trying to be a nice person to be around is a really big one.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I think that sort of gives us a nice place to have a quick 5-minute break.
Yeah, we'll have a little break.
And we've got some more stuff to talk about in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a minute.
Don't move a muscle.
All right.
Bye. Okay, so we're back. Second half, we've had a little break. And in that break, I was just telling you about this initiative that I've seen. And it's a government initiative. It's called Every Mind Matters. And it's sort of like a content hub for all sort of like stresses that you could have to like sort of help mental health. People struggling with like mental health issues. And it's like a place where, say you've got like monetary problems or COVID-19 problems and like everything like that, it gives you like little bits of advice, and you can do an Every Mind Matters quiz where you sort of put in that you answer a couple quick fire questions, and they can have like an action plan of how to like help you, which I think is a brilliant initiative.
Yeah, that's really good.
Because sometimes people need a bit of something in front of them to help themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to know where to pinpoint what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And so if you can answer these questions and they go, oh, are you struggling with this or this? You actually think about, yeah, I am, and I maybe need this help and this help. And it just gives you sort of a map of how to give yourself a bit more of a chance.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good government initiative. And part of that is a thing this is more Kent-based. So we're quite lucky that we have access to this. It's called Release the Pressure. And it's a campaign which if you text or call Kent to a certain number, I can read it out for any Kent listeners, to 85258. If you can text Kent to 85258, you'll be able to start a conversation at any time, wherever you are, with a trained volunteer who's experienced in like how to sort of give you any support of any of your worries. And I think that's a really, really good initiative to have.
That's good.
And there are obviously lots of other charities out there that you access at any time to help you with these sort of problems. And I think that when it comes to self-care, yes, we're talking about giving yourself the best chance, but sometimes you need to just talk to someone who can go, look, this is what would be really good for you, and I know this, and someone who has the experience, because sometimes it's quite intimidating to go, well, I need help, but where do I start?
Yeah.
And it's self-care is a really long journey, and it's something that you have to keep up for the entirety of your life. Yeah. You can't just do a bit of self-care, leave it, do a bit, because it's not really how it works.
No.
And so to have action plans and use initiatives like Every Mind Matters, I feel like something like that could really be beneficial for a lot of people, and I think giving it a little space now for a bit more people to know about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely check that out if you're struggling.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you just want to see if anything can help you, because even if you feel like your life's fine, there might be something where you go, oh well, now I've actually thought about it.
Yeah.
I would like to improve my life in that way. Yeah. I think there's always places to
and I think it's good for something like that, because unfortunately, I was watching a video the other day and someone was saying, even if you start to feel a little bit bad, or even if you start to feel a little bit down, you need to call Samaritans. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the issue with that is that there's a lot of people that desperately need that service, that are on the verge of ending their own lives. Yeah. So you have to be careful. And so with something like that, it seems a lot more like, call them up for maybe a bit of advice, or you're quite stressed, or you're feeling very anxious or low. Give them a call. Give other places like that a call, rather than calling the Samaritans, because they are there for one purpose and one purpose only, really.
And I think the title says it all, releasing the pressure.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Samaritans is when you're at, maybe not, I might be wrong in this, when you're at a breaking point and you're thinking a worst case scenario. Whereas I feel like releasing the pressure is a really nice, it's like it's a little valve. You like just give them a text. They might be like, oh, well, this is a bit of advice I could give you. Yeah. And then it just sort of takes you down a level, and like you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay now.
Yeah.
It's a bit like 111 rather than 999. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And I think a lot more people should constantly give themselves a bit more of a break. So I think it's just an initiative I really support. So I think it'd be good if more people could check it out.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a journey I've had with self-care.
Yeah.
it's a bit of a personal one, but again, all about me, innit?
Has to be.
But no, I've when I opened up about my dad on the first episode, I got loads of nice messages from people saying how, they could either relate in a way, or it was nice to see someone open up about this, and it's rare to see it. So here I go, exposing myself again. You know a little bit about this, but for the audience at home, and if you didn't watch the first episode, my dad passed away about 2 years ago through suicide, and he'd struggled with mental health for years and years and years. So that's just context. After my dad passed away, I started to struggle a little bit with having visions of him. And it's a very hard one to explain, having visions of someone that's passed away, especially if it's traumatic visions and visions of not nice things. But how do I explain it? Sometimes you see in a film, for people that have never visualised people that aren't there before, in a film, the actors are both in the room. Like, let's say someone's died and their ghost is there. They're in the room together and they can see them and smell them and breathe them in. That is genuinely how it is. It's not thinking you're seeing something. Your eyes are seeing it. I know it's rare with people. I've looked into it, and usually people with very creative minds and lots of imagination, obviously it's easier for them to do that. But I started struggling with that a lot, to the point where, just a little story, I got employed by Tesco's warehouse about 2 months after he passed away, because I really needed a job before uni. And on day 2, I was about 2 hours into my shift, and I was walking about doing my thing in the warehouse, and I visualised my dad dying in front of me. And I saw it, and I stopped, and I looked at it, and I was watching it for about 20 seconds, and I just burst into tears, and I quit that day. I was only at that job for 2 days. So it's something that has really affected me a lot. And I also struggle really bad with trauma nightmares. And that's, usually the same thing every single night. Either traumatic events that have happened and memories, or things that I'm scared will happen in the future, or just making things up in my mind that I can't help. And they are really horrific. But there's a reason why I'm saying all this. When I moved into my student accommodation, I had a few rocky nights, shall we say. But the visions and the nightmares started to become less. And I think, in a way, I started to miss them, which is strange. But I think there was a connection there. I felt that there was still a connection to him. Yeah. He was still around, even if it was through traumatic visions. He was still around. And one night, I was having a bit of a down day, and I got into the shower, and the shower was really hot, and I was like, oh my God, that is really hot. But you stand to the side and you can't quite reach the taps. But after a while, you sort of think, oh, actually, that's not actually that bad. Like, so you get used to the temperature. And in my student accommodation, you had it's a shower, and then you close like a glass door, so it's almost like a sauna. Do you know what I mean? It traps in most of the heat. There's a little bit at the top, it comes out, but you trap it in. So I thought, oh, okay, this is quite hot, but I sort of got used to it. And then I started struggling to breathe a little bit because it was so hot. But there was some weird part of me that kind of liked that feeling, because it hurt. And so I turned up the heat a little bit more, and I sat down on the floor, and I let all the hot water hit me, and I let the hot air build up. And I ended up sitting there for about an hour. And it got to the point where I couldn't really breathe. And I couldn't move, and my muscles ached because all the water was draining out of my body through sweat. And I looked across, and I started to visualise him again. And I felt like, and I obviously wasn't, but I felt like I was dying. You know what I mean? I felt like my body was going, my breathing was slowing. I felt like I was sort of letting go. Yeah. And then I started seeing him, and it was weird. It was almost like I was getting closer to him. Yeah. I was getting, I wouldn't say close to dying, but close to feeling like I'm dying, to get close to him. And like we've talked about this before, like I'm very aware of like self-harm and that sort of thing, and it's something that fortunately I've never been addicted to and anything like that, because it's a horrible affliction to have, and it's a lifelong affliction that you have to live with. It's the same as any other addiction, and you could class this as self-harm if you wanted to, but I liked that feeling of just feeling lifeless, and so I started doing it more often. And I think there's a certain shame that comes with it now when I think about it, and I think about why was I doing that and why was I putting myself in danger like that. It's because I just got addicted to this feeling of feeling like I'm letting go, and feeling close to death. And I think at points in my life I've definitely got to the point where I've never ever wanted to die, but I've certainly got to the point where I contemplate what that would be like, and only in really severe times. And you know, I went through a bit of a rough patch when we was at student accommodation, and as I say, I started doing it more regularly. But then when I did it, the great thing about it was I saw him, and sometimes I would talk to him, and because I knew him so well, I knew what his responses would be. And the reason I'm opening up about it is because at the time I didn't think it was self-harm or anything that bad, and it didn't affect anyone but me. I didn't tell anyone about it. But the issue is that it starts to become a weight on you, and you have to carry it around with you, and eventually you'll have to tell other people. And when I started telling other people, when I told my girlfriend, I told my mum, as I was saying it, I was just thinking, why would you do that? Because eventually you have to tell people, and the look on their faces, it's a mixture of like disappointment and sadness and worry, and I hate people worrying about me. And regardless of how bad of a time you're going through, the best thing to do is to go and open up and talk to your mum or your girlfriend or your best mate or whatever, because doing what I did doesn't help you, it doesn't help the people around you. So I just wanted to open up about that and just sort of use it as a cautionary tale, like, you know, really be careful with that, because there's a fine line between harming yourself and then becoming addicted to that. And the weirdest thing about it, in a way, is that I sort of miss it, because I felt him, you know, I felt him there, and he was with me, and it felt like it. But I knew that the consequences that came along with it, and it was almost like a calculated risk. Like I would do it, and I'd feel like I was close to him, but know that what I was doing, he wouldn't want me to do. So the weirdest thing about it is that I miss it, and I miss doing it.
But when we spoke about grief, obviously it's everyone's journey, and that was part of your journey. And no one can really understand your thought process other than you, and no one can really tell you if it was right or wrong. Obviously, as a mate, it worries me, because even though it's not conventional self-harm, it is self-harm, and I don't want you to do damage to yourself. But at the same time, I understand that sort of strange side to it, that part of you that wants to do it to see him again, and I think part of the process of grieving is maybe you're going to have to learn that isn't the right thing to do. And I know you do know that, but seeing it as something that you did and you shouldn't do again, because my personal opinion is you shouldn't do it again.
Yeah, of course. No, 100% to everyone out there, like, it's not a good thing to do. And like, just because it worked for me and I was able to visualise him because my mind was going foggy, doesn't mean it works for you. And no. Unfortunately, the hardest bit about losing someone is knowing that no matter how hard you want to, you're not going to see them again.
And we covered that in the first episode. We sort of mentioned it, and that's.
But we can tie self-care in, because self-care after losing someone and self-care during grieving is near on nothing. You don't care about yourself. All you care about is what you've lost, or the people around you. Yeah, 100%. So, so 100% just take that as a cautionary tale. Like, it's not. And it's a good thing to do.
Like you said, you should have spoken to people.
Yeah.
And it's all well and good to say that, but if someone is listening right now who is in a situation where they're turning to self-harm, just open up to someone.
Yeah.
It's, at the end of the day, if you're gonna, like, doing yourself damage, it's such a complex idea, self-harm, and it's so hard to get into anybody's brain because each individual is different. But just please open up. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and it's the same as any addiction.
Yeah.
Once you do that first thing, whatever that may be, that addiction is there for the rest of your life. And just like alcoholics have to be sober for the rest of their lives, you have to find a way to never do that again for the rest of your life. And the more you do it, the harder that becomes, and the more you fall into a pit. I've had mates that have gone through it, and it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's just as bad as any other addiction. So, really
talk to a professional.
Get
help.
Yeah.
Because when you start to do yourself physical harm, that's when it becomes really serious.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting your life in danger.
Yeah.
Or just your well-being in general.
Yeah.
No,
definitely. And also, and this sounds strange, but self-harm harms the people around you. And it's not me I'm not trying to make anyone feel guilty for doing it. But I had an experience with a person, obviously I'm not going to go into details about them, but I had an experience with a person who unfortunately decided to send me a video and a photo of what they'd done to themselves. And they were very close to me, and I think they wanted help. But that image of what they did haunts me.
Yeah.
Utterly haunts me. I think about it all the time.
You have people that care about you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as much as you might feel yourself in a space where you might feel very lonely, no matter who you are, there's someone that cares about you and wouldn't want you to do that.
No.
And I think even if it might seem slightly strange, you have to almost put them not first, but you have to keep them in your forefront of your mind, because if I found out someone close to me was self-harming, it's just you can't really know how you'd feel, but it's scary. It scares me.
Yeah. And I think just a little bit of advice as well I'd like to give to people that are friends with someone or a relative of someone that is doing that. There is only so much you can do. And talking from my own personal experience, I to this day still have a guilt complex about that situation that I just spoke about. I think about it all the time. I think about it every day. What could I have done? Could I have changed that? What if that's still going on? Like, how much impact did I have on that? All these sort of questions come up. And the thing you have to think about is you can be there for that person, but you can't start blaming yourself because there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is try and get them help. Definitely something to think about. Just, stay strong for them, but make sure that you're also taking care of yourself.
Look after yourself, because you've only got one life, and things get better. They do get better.
They do get better, 100%.
No matter what happens, things will get better. This too shall pass.
Yeah.
And you'll see the other side of things.
Yeah, definitely. You have to hit rock bottom before you come back up.
So, just look after yourself is what we're saying.
Thus concludes the sad bit of the podcast.
That's a somber bit. Should we move on to some questions from the listeners?
Let's move on to some questions. Have you got the questions there?
I do. I've got some really good ones, actually, from producer. Let me grab them. Okay. So, now we're moving on to our Q&A section. We've got 3 questions. The first being, what's something that you guys are thankful for?
Thankful for? Wow. It's really cheesy. Really cheesy answer. I'm so thankful for you and my housemates and my best mates and my group of mates that I've got.
Yeah.
So thankful, because I am a big believer of the quote that friends are the family that you choose.
Yeah.
And that means it's sometimes even more special than family. You've got that stronger bond because you're choosing to spend time together, you're choosing to care about each other, you're choosing to love each other. And the fact that I've got such a good group of boys and girls around me is amazing. And I struggled all throughout school. I had loads of great mates, but I think they can all admit as well, we were sort of together because we were together.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have much in common, and although they're all lovely lads, there wasn't much in common going on. And so coming here and meeting people that are interested in the same things and everything, I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, I want to echo that. You guys have changed my life, and you were 20 minutes away from me down the road.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy, isn't it?
I've now got these people in my life who they're going to be there forever, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. And my family and their health and the situation I'm in London, and I'm very lucky. And that when you see things on the news and you just like look at stuff and you go like, I'm just incredibly lucky for what I have.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to remember that. Obviously, it's not something you like. People you forget it, and you have days where you go, oh, my life's so rubbish, and like, but you think like, we're very, very lucky to be in the position we're in.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's good to remember what you're thankful for. So I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
Even if we don't talk about this again, like just now, just to think like, yeah, I am really grateful for what I've got.
Yeah.
And to remember that.
And it might not be a lot, but it's what you've got, and you've got to work with it.
Exactly. Well, okay, question 2. Any tips on helping balance a work and play lifestyle when it feels like work is taking over?
It's difficult. It's very, very difficult. I'm a strong believer of rewarding yourself for work. So the other day, for example, I had so much stuff to do, and so I said, I woke up and I was really hungry and really thirsty, and I said, no, you're going to sit in bed, you're going to do 3 out of the 5 things you need to do today in bed on your laptop, because they're all online stuff to do, work and stuff. I sat there for an hour and I banged it all out as quick as possible, and then I rewarded myself with waking up, having a shower, having something nice to eat, like making a big lunch, having some crisps in a sandwich, you know what I mean, treating myself because I've done well.
Yeah.
And I think that comes into it with work and non-work lifestyle is work. You know, sometimes it will feel like work is taking over and you're working every single day, but you've got to find them times in the day where you can reward yourself for the work you're doing, and sometimes switch off. Like, if you're a busy person and you work in a busy environment, there always is going to be something to do. You're never going to have your diary clear. There's always things planned. So it's up to you to turn your brain off for a little bit, even if it's an hour or two. Sit down and think, right now, I can't do that. I'm too stressed.
Yeah.
Take care of your mind and nurture it.
Yeah.
Because, like, you got to think of your mental health like a... My mum uses a good analogy. Your mental health is like a bucket, and it's filled up with water. When you're born, your mental health is filled up with water. And what happens, unfortunately, is throughout your life, things will poke holes in it. You know, you could have a mental health issue, and that's a massive hole that's in it. And you have people upsetting you and bullies and all that stuff, and that the water starts trickling out. But you can fill that back up, but only you can do it. No one else can really do it. And so you have to take care of that bucket of water.
Yeah.
And that comes into play with what we're talking about there.
Massively. I have had a little bit of experience where I felt life is just work.
Yeah.
And this last summer, I was lucky enough to work on a TV show for a long time, but it was over the period of the football tournament. I'm a massive football fan, and I would sit and watch like everyone's be at the games and like watching it, and I'd think like, but I just work. I'm not doing anything. I'm just working.
Yeah.
And so, in response to that, this summer I've decided I'm just gonna have a nice summer in England and like do what I want and maybe treat myself a bit. And I think also, like going off what you said, I find if I've got lots to do in a day, I will bullet point what exactly I've got to do and then tick it off. And in that way, I feel good about getting things out of the way. But balancing the work and life, I think it's important to maybe sacrifice a little bit of the finance for a bit of your own sanity. Like with the sort of work I do, I will evaluate, do I really want to go do that job? Or do I think, well, no, this weekend I'm going to sort of look after myself, and I'm really stressed out. I have a busy enough week as it is. Do I really want to go sacrifice myself? And I'm lucky that it's freelance and I can sort of say no and yes. Yeah. But I'm not contracted to anything. But I think definitely giving yourself a break, and it's okay to say no. Yeah. For like a lot of people when they're working, especially young people our age, they get given these shifts and they feel so lucky to have the opportunity to earn money that they can't say no. Yeah. And you sort of go, it's okay to say. But we are time off.
Lucky and privileged enough that sometimes we can do that. Yeah. And there is a lot of people out there, obviously, as we know, that have to, or feel like they have to say yes. But as you're saying, I think it does still apply. Like, you know, if you're someone that works 6 days a week, every single day, like, I've got mad respect for you. Yeah. But at what cost is that? You know, and if it's the case that you have to, then you have to, and that is really unfortunate. But again, I know it sounds really like preachy, but there will still be like time in the evening or time on that day off to use that effectively and make sure that you're looking after yourself.
I think it was like The Rock or like some Hollywood stars, like, well, there's 24 hours in a day. If you actually break down how you use that 24 hours, there's so much spare time. Yeah. And so maybe just give yourself...
You're walking on dangerous territory, because recently the one and only Molly May came out and said that everyone has the same 24 hours.
Don't care.
So...
Don't care. Everyone's is the same.
Everyone's just the same. It's not, everyone's got... There's no privilege. Privilege doesn't exist.
Exactly. It doesn't matter that my dad paid for everything, or I'm very pretty and I'm able to get a pretty little thing. Oh. Brand deal. Yeah, shut up, Molly May. Shut up. From one podcast to another, shut up, Molly May.
Shut up. Yeah.
Donut.
Donut.
But The Rock, we'll take his advice. Like, there is a lot of extra time in the day to sort of give yourself a little bit of a break. Yeah. Even if it's 15 minutes, like, just sit on TikTok, or like, just go and make a snack. Go do something that you go, oh, that was nice. Yeah. And then if you do that 2 or 3 times a day, that's not actually that much time out of your day to go. Just take 15 minutes to yourself. Yeah. So I think, little rewards is what I'd say.
100%.
So question 3. This is probably our longest one. I have trouble with feeling selfish when putting myself first. So often find it hard to say no to others and find myself over-promising. Any tips?
I've got a good one on this one.
Yeah.
My mum's recently been talking to someone, and they've said to her, talking to a counsellor, and they've said to her, selfish doesn't really exist. It's self-care. And so, like, my mum, for example, will think, well, you know, I've got to get this for my little brother's school, or I've got to spend money on this or that, boring things. But actually taking a little bit of that, just a little bit, and going and ordering a nice dress. Yeah. Or going and having a meal out with your friends, or, you know, buying a extra special meal from the co-op once a week, like just little bits like that where you go, I'm going to treat myself. Yeah. And this question's interesting because it's more about, you know, not. It's about. What's my train of thought?
It's about drive. It's about power.
Right, let's go again.
Just all there for The Rocks.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it all again?
Yeah, read that question again.
Okay, so question 3. Oh, not my mic. Okay, question 3. I have trouble with feeling selfish when putting myself first, so often find it hard to say no to others and find myself over-promising. Any tips?
Right, so my mum has been talking to a counsellor, and she said that selfish doesn't really exist. It's all about self-care. Yeah. And so, you know, putting aside a little bit of money each month to go and sort of buy yourself a nice dress online, or sort of treat yourself to this like posh brand of makeup that you really like but can never afford, and all these sort of little things. Like, it's all about like self-care and making sure that you're okay. And with this question, like, obviously if this person is over promising themselves to everyone and being like, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this, I'll do that, and the issue you get with that is then people start to expect you to do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't become a, like, let's say for example you say to me, is there any chance you could work on this project that I'm doing? And I go, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then the next time you think, oh, it was fine to do it last time, can you do? And then I go, yeah, I'll cancel this, yeah, I'll do that. And then you stop saying thank you so much, it's amazing. You start to just expect people to do it. And I think that's what happens when you overpromise yourself to, and that's a cautionary tale to be careful of that. But once you're already in that, just be honest with them people. Like, just say, I'm not feeling too great at the moment. I'm going to take a little bit of time for me. But, you know, if you need my help with anything else, like the next go round, we'll do that. And it's just like, be open and just talk to people, because if someone's really going to genuinely be upset with you because you're taking time to take care of yourself, they're not your mate or whatever they claim to be. So yeah, just make sure that you're just honest and open with them and just say, look, I need a bit of time for me.
Yeah. I used to really struggle with I couldn't say boo to a goose. I couldn't say no to anybody about anything. And I got to a point where I just sort of, I think I grew out of it, and I was just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. If I can't do it, I'm not going to promise I can do it. But it is a really hard sort of line to walk, because I can definitely see how people go like yes to everything, and I've started doing it more with like camera work. Like, once you get an opportunity, you don't want to say no, because then you're like, oh, if I say no to this one, and what happens, and you build it up in your head. But sometimes you just go, I'm really sorry, I'm not available, but I'm free for the next ones, and people are okay with that. I think overpromising yourself is tough, because you want to. It's ultimately you're trying to be good, you're trying to do a good thing, and it comes from a great place that you want people to. You want to help people as much as you can. But the moment you start to actually neglect your own life, there lies the problem. And so, like the counsellor said to your mum, that selfish is a word that has negative connotations, but it's not necessarily. Because, you know, in my opinion, you need to look out for number one. Like, as much as there are other people in your life you need to look out for. Like, if you're in yourself not okay, and you're getting stressed out, you can't even sort of help other people.
Exactly.
You need to be in a state of yourself where you can make sure that you've got the ability to go and help other people.
I think that's a really good point. Like, if you are one of them people that really wants to help others and like it's all about making sure everyone else around you is happy, genuinely you can't do that unless you
starts with you.
It starts with you. And once you've sorted your own mental health out, and once you've started being happy and being confident and feeling all these nice things, it's because look, you can hate yourself and still make other people happy, but you'd be able to do a much better job if you worked on you first. And also, working on you and making yourself happy makes everyone around you way more happy than you ever could trying to make them happy, you know? Like, especially your family. Like, when I was in a real rut a few years ago, when I came out of that and started bettering myself and coming to uni and being happy, I can see how happy it's making my family not having to worry about me and knowing that I'm secure mentally and all them sorts of things. So, yeah, definitely it starts with number one. It starts with you. So I 100% agree with what you said,
Yeah. Well, I think that covers it, really.
Yeah.
I think that's been a really nice episode, a really valuable one to...
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Again, thank you for staying till the end. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to every single one of you that's watched, listened, shared, liked, commented, everything. On all social media platforms. You know, we're everywhere at the moment. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, whatever you want, we're there. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for being a part of a community. And it's starting to feel a little bit more like a community now, isn't it?
Yeah, we get like the same messages from the same people, like, oh, I watched the episode, and then when the ones come through that you didn't even realise they'd watched, it's this feeling you can't quite sort of have.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't quite explain it. I'm really grateful for all the responses we've had.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Creative Capital.
Yeah.
Massive shout out to them, because they're the guys that
none of this would be possible.
Exactly, none of this would be possible without them. So big shout out to them.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Joey. He knows who he is. But I want to say that this is the penultimate episode of Series 1.
Season 1, yeah.
We don't know if we're going to get Season 2, hopefully. If you guys keep watching and listening and
or
liking.
will we?
Ooh. But if you guys keep up the interaction that you're doing, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't get a Season 2. So keep it up, keep listening.
Any commissioning editors out there?
Yeah. But next week, in 2 weeks' time will be the season finale. So make sure you guys tune in for that one.
Yeah,
it's going to be a great
really
episode.
Good. Looking forward to it.
And yeah, so as I say, keep liking, keep watching, and try and help us get a season 2 because that'd be great.
Yeah. Well,
but
I think that wraps it up.
It does. So see you later, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Make sure you listen to the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Cool.
Nice one, bro.
Oh, fuck, mate.